The holographic projection materialized without warning in the center of Advanced Quantum Mechanics 401, its crimson light bleeding across the pristine white walls of the Interstellar Academy's lecture hall. Elsa's stylus froze mid-equation as the air crackled with electromagnetic interference, her neural implant registering an unauthorized transmission on every conceivable frequency. "Attention, students of the so-called Galactic Alliance," the figure announced, its voice a symphony of harmonics that suggested vocal cords evolved for an atmosphere far denser than Earth's standard. The hologram resolved into a being of crystalline exoskeleton and multiple sensory appendages, each one terminating in what appeared to be both a weapon and a communication device. "I am War Coordinator Jexther of the Krenathi Supremacy. Your pathetic coalition has violated the neutral zone of Sector 773. We demand immediate withdrawal and reparations, or we will demonstrate why your species should have remained confined to your primitive homeworlds." Around Elsa, 200 students from 47 different species began to panic. The Delphinian twins started secreting their anxiety pheromones, which only amplified the chaos. Professor Korth, a typically unflappable Centaurian with 3 doctorates in theoretical physics, reached for the emergency comm, his tentacles trembling with a rare display of fear. Elsa, however, continued writing her equation. The problem set was due in 3 hours, and this interruption, authorized or not, wasn't going to change that deadline. "To prove we are not mere posturing politicians," Jexther continued, its mandibles clicking in what the translation algorithms interpreted as contempt, "we issue a challenge. Send your best warrior, your finest tactician to the coordinates we are now transmitting. Single combat. If they prevail, we withdraw our fleet and submit to arbitration. If they fail," the general's chromatic display shifted to a threatening ultraviolet, "your precious academy becomes our first target. You have 1 standard hour to accept and arrive. Refuse, and we interpret cowardice as admission of guilt." The hologram winked out, leaving behind only the acrid smell of ozone and 200 hyperventilating students. Everyone remained calm. Professor Korth's translator struggled to keep up with his rapid-fire Centaurian. "The security protocols will." "I'll go," Elsa said, not looking up from her work. The lecture hall fell silent except for the soft hum of the environmental controls. Every eye, compound, multifaceted, photoreceptive, and otherwise, turned toward the human girl in the 3rd row. Professor Korth's tentacles stilled. "Ms. Chen, this is not the time for—" "I'm not joking, Professor." Elsa finally looked up, her dark eyes meeting his primary optical sensors with unsettling calm. "The Krenathi challenged us to send someone. I'm volunteering." Harry Morrison, her lab partner and the only other human in the advanced class, leaned over. "Elsa, you can't be serious. The Krenathi are apex predators. Their reflexes operate at the millisecond scale. Their exoskeletons can withstand direct plasma fire. You're brilliant at quantum mathematics, not combat." "Exactly," Elsa replied, returning to her calculations, "which is why I'll win." The next 37 minutes were a bureaucratic nightmare. The Academy's administration tried to prevent her from going, citing liability concerns and species protection protocols. The human embassy on the station sent 3 increasingly frantic diplomats who argued that sending an untrained 22-year-old student would be tantamount to suicide and diplomatic catastrophe. Elsa ignored all of them. She finished her problem set, submitted it through her neural implant, and then calmly began packing her equipment bag. "At least let me come with you," Harry insisted, following her to the transport bay. "Moral support, if nothing else." "Observers allowed?" Elsa asked the trembling Delphinian administrator who was processing her shuttle clearance. Though the Krenathi didn't specify against it, the administrator admitted, his bioluminescent patches flickering anxiously. "Then Harry comes, let's move." The coordinates led to an abandoned ore processing station in the debris field of a shattered moon. The structure's skeletal framework loomed against the backdrop of a dying red giant, its hull pockmarked with micrometeorite impacts and the scars of long-dead mining lasers. Elsa's shuttle docked with a pneumatic hiss that sounded far too final. The arena, if it could be called that, was a zero-gravity hangar perhaps 200 meters across. Chunks of refined metal floated in lazy orbits, creating a three-dimensional maze of cover and obstacles. At the far end, Jexther waited, its massive form barely restrained by magnetic boot anchors. "The human sends a child," the general rumbled, its translator rendering the words with dripping disdain. "Your species' arrogance knows no bounds." "I accept your terms," Elsa replied, her voice steady despite the lack of gravity making her stomach lurch. "Single combat. I win, you withdraw. You win, you get the academy. Clear enough." "Weapons?" Jexther gestured to an array of deadly implements floating nearby. Plasma rifles, graviton disruptors, molecular edge blades. "Won't need them," Elsa said, pulling something from her equipment bag. Harry's eyes widened when he saw what it was. Her personal tablet, the same one she used for homework assignments. Jexther's chromatic display rippled with what might have been laughter. "You face me armed with a computational device." "Not exactly." Elsa's fingers flew across the haptic interface. "See, I did some research during the shuttle ride. The Krenathi evolved on a high-gravity world with a powerful magnetic field. Your nervous system operates on bioelectric impulses that are, by necessity, far more powerful than most species. Makes you fast, makes you strong, also makes you incredibly vulnerable to the right kind of electromagnetic pulse." The general's stance shifted slightly, the first hint of uncertainty. "The rules of combat forbid." "Forbid weapons, yes. This isn't a weapon, General. It's a modified subspace communication array, completely legal under the Talarian Accords." Her smile was cold. "See, you chose this arena specifically because the debris field contains high concentrations of ferromagnetic materials. Thought it would give you an advantage, didn't you? Better magnetic anchoring for your boots, easier to use your natural electromagnetic senses to track opponents." Elsa's fingers tapped a final sequence. "But ferromagnetic materials have interesting properties when exposed to rapidly oscillating magnetic fields. They generate eddy currents. Those currents create secondary magnetic fields, and those fields, when properly tuned to resonate with Krenathi neural frequencies." She activated the sequence. The effect was instantaneous. Every piece of metallic debris in the hangar began to vibrate, creating a cascading electromagnetic resonance that built exponentially within seconds. Jexther's chromatic display flashed through the entire visible spectrum and into ranges only Harry's emergency visor filters could protect against. The general's exoskeleton locked up as its nervous system was overwhelmed by the induced current feedback. "Your biology is your advantage," Elsa said, her voice cutting through the electromagnetic shriek. "It's also your weakness. Any first-year xenobiology student could have told you that, but you didn't ask students. You challenged warriors." Jexther couldn't respond. Its entire body was rigid, caught in a feedback loop of its own bioelectric signals amplified and reflected back by the resonating debris field. Not lethal. Elsa had carefully calculated the frequencies to avoid permanent neural damage, but utterly incapacitating. "I could leave you like this for hours," Elsa continued, floating closer while maintaining the signal. "Long enough for your fleet to assume you failed, long enough for them to retreat in shame. Or," she adjusted a parameter, and the resonance frequency shifted. Jexther's body unlocked, though the general still trembled from the aftereffects. "Or you can admit defeat now, withdraw your fleet, and we proceed to arbitration like civilized species. Your choice." The silence stretched for 3 full seconds, an eternity in combat time. Then Jexther's translator crackled to life. "I withdraw. The Krenathi supremacy will submit to arbitration." "Excellent." Elsa deactivated the array, and the debris field slowly stopped its harmonic vibration. Now, about those alleged violations of the neutral zone. I took the liberty of accessing the public sensor logs during my research. Your navigational data is off by approximately 0.3 light seconds. Parallax error, most likely. Your homeworld's orbital mechanics give you different reference frames than the standard galactic coordinate system. The Alliance ships never entered the neutral zone. You just thought they did because your charts were wrong. She pulled up a holographic display of the orbital mechanics, the equations rendering in crystalline perfection in the space between them. See, here's your coordinate transformation matrix. The error compounds over interstellar distances. I can send you the corrected calculations if you'd like. Jexter stared at the mathematics, its chromatic display shifting through colors Harry's translator couldn't interpret. Finally, the general spoke. You are either the most arrogant being I have ever encountered or the most terrifying. I'm a physics student, Elsa replied, repacking her tablet. Same thing, really. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a lab report due tomorrow, and this detour has already cost me 2 hours of study time. As their shuttle departed, Harry finally found his voice. How did you know that would work? What if you'd been wrong about the electromagnetic resonance frequencies? Elsa pulled out her personal tablet, already loading her next problem set. I wasn't wrong. I ran the calculations 3 times during the shuttle ride and had my neural implant verify the quantum chromodynamics. The math doesn't lie, Harry. That's the beautiful thing about physics. It doesn't care about your combat training or your evolutionary advantages. The universe has rules and everyone has to follow them. You're insane, Harry said, but he was smiling. Brilliant but insane. Probably, Elsa admitted, her stylus already moving across the haptic display, solving differential equations with the same calm focus she'd shown facing down an alien general. But I really do have that lab report due. And unlike combat, Professor Korth doesn't accept I was saving the Academy as an excuse for late submissions. Behind them, the Kranathi fleet was already beginning its withdrawal, their massive dreadnoughts engaging their faster-than-light drives in precise, coordinated sequence. Within 6 hours, diplomatic channels would open. Within a day, the navigational error would be corrected, and the crisis would be downgraded to an embarrassing miscommunication. And in the Advanced Quantum Mechanics Lecture Hall, Professor Korth would receive Elsa Chen's problem set, submitted on time with every equation solved correctly and a small addendum note. Sorry about the disruption. Won't happen again. He would read it, let out a very Centaurian sigh, and add a note to her file. Student shows exceptional problem-solving skills and concerning lack of self-preservation instinct. Monitor closely. But in the margins of her file, where only he could see it, he would add one more line. Humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or their adaptability. It's their absolute refusal to acknowledge when they should be afraid. And occasionally, that's exactly what the universe needs. And